If you're starting at 25% body fat or above, it is easy to drop weight fast, but then get stuck, and most guys never get under that point. It's not because they're lazy, but because they're overdoing it and focused on the wrong things. After coaching guys through this for 9 years now, I can tell you it is not all about discipline. So I'll show you exactly what to do first and the easy mistakes to avoid so you can lose belly fat without wasting the next 6 to 12 months spinning your wheels. If you are already training and eating well, but you're still stuck around that 20 to 25% range, before you do anything else, you need to do this properly. Look at all the images on the screen right now and pick the level of leanness that you actually want to achieve and maintain. Be honest about it. Don't let doubts or beliefs hold you back. Now, look at the approximate body fat percentage for the physique that you chose. Now, write this down. This matters because most guys are far too vague and say things like, I just want to lose 20 pounds or I just need to lose the belly, which is a bit like saying, I just want to drive north with no destination. If you're not specific, you'll make detours or eventually drift back to where you started when you get lost on the journey. When you set a clear target like 15, 13, or 11% body fat, you now have direction, urgency, and something measurable to work toward. And you are not done until you reach this point that you set. If you don't do this properly, you'll stay stuck in that 20% range for potentially years. So make this commitment to yourself before you dive into how to do it. The next step is where most guys think that they've figured it all out, but that's when they start to mess it up. You need to see how fat loss works in different phases. So from 40% down to 25%, this is the easiest phase because it's not all fat. It includes water, glycogen, and easy wins just from cleaning up your diet and moving more. So don't mistake the easy progress for having everything dialed in. Then you have from 25% to 20%. And this can be done at a reasonable pace and can feel like you've got it all figured out and it's all dialed in. But this is where most guys get the false confidence. Almost every client that I've worked with expects 20% body fat to look far leaner than it actually is. And this is where you can't just, make it up or wing it on the fly in your head. Expecting to know the path without ever having walked it is a little bit delusional. And this is where most guys start to second guess everything they're doing because it's not moving at a pace they want to see. But from 20% down to 15%, it's a different game and requires a structured approach. Then from 15% down to 10% is where it gets proper hard and slow and kind of annoying, which is why 15% is actually a solid goal to aim for first. It puts you in the top % of lean men and it's the most sustainable level of entry-level leanness. Now here's what you actually need to do to avoid stalling in that 20s range. This is where most guys go wrong. If you're not a full-time athlete, you probably can't out-train your diet. At this stage, the gym is not the driver of losing belly fat anyway. So don't over-fixate on some new hectic workout plan or jamming your schedule with as much cardio as you can. Your biggest leverage right now is your nutrition. You need to have a proper deficit, not just guessing or thinking that you're in one, but an actual measurable gap. Because healthy eating does not automatically mean that you're going to get lean. It's very easy to overeat clean food without even realizing it. So whether you eat McDonald's or acai bowls every day, deficit is the number one priority for you right now. For most guys, that's a 550 to 600 calorie deficit that's required for reaching 20% body fat or below that. But if you don't measure things accurately, you won't even know where you're at. So after you do that, then set your protein based on your body weight. This study from 2018, the researchers found that 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilo of body weight or 0.73 to 1 gram per pound of body weight is the range for optimal muscle growth and maintenance. Now, you don't need to overcomplicate this, but even 1.6 to 1.8 grams per kilo or 0.73 to 0.81 grams per pound is enough for most guys because if you're over 25% body fat, a large portion of that weight is fat, it's not muscle. So the weight's going to drop anyway, which means your protein goal would also drop over time. So you don't have to go crazy with the protein. Provided you're training correctly, the higher protein will help you maintain and increase your muscle while in this fat loss phase. If you want to simplify this, just use my calculator links in the description, and you can get your numbers sorted out very quickly. Then you can go implement this next step that many guys overlook, which keeps them stuck at the 20% range. So this matters more than hitting the gym when it comes to losing fat and keeping it off long term. So compare these two guys. On the left, we have Ricky. He does 30 minutes of cardio and then spends the rest of the day sitting in the car, at the desk, on the couch, on the shitter, whatever. And on the right, we have Bobby. He doesn't do set cardio sessions, but he moves more throughout the day, walking during his breaks, standing up more often, taking the stairs, and just doing basic tasks on his feet. So considering that one 30-minute cardio session may only burn a couple of hundred calories, who do you think will burn more energy across the entire day? Now in this case, Bobby wins because Ricky may burn 2,000 to 2,200 calories, but Bobby may burn 2,300 to 2,500 calories. And it would look something like this chart here. So it's not about these short bursts of effort. It's about your total daily energy burn. You need to set a total daily energy burn target and keep it consistent throughout your week. Also, monitor your steps to see what it actually takes you to reach that calorie burn target, and look for more ways to move more without trying to turn it into some formal workout. Now, any fitness device, whether it's an Oura Ring, a Fitbit, Garmin, whatever, will help you do this. And look, you can do cardio if you really want to. It's just not the priority initially. But guys also waste a lot of time in the gym while kind of getting nowhere physically with their results. So let me show you how to structure this properly. A lot of high-performing men think that more is better when it comes to training. More workouts, more sweat, more effort. And I used to train 5 to 6 days a week thinking that it would speed things up. And it worked until it didn't. My recovery dropped, I got sick more often, I injured myself more frequently, and my progress just got stuck for months. Because the body doesn't reward more effort, it rewards what you can actually recover from doing. Or most guys just burn out and lose all the progress they made anyway. So at this stage, more is not better, better is better. For most busy guys, 2 to 3 properly structured workouts per week is more than enough. The goal here is not to destroy yourself, it is to maintain and build muscle while you're losing fat over time. And that only works if you can recover and stay consistent every single week in your sessions. One session can take a couple of days to recover from. So it's less about picking perfect exercises, but it's really about sticking to what you actually do. Another thing to avoid is jumping into intense sports without slowly building up to it. Your injury risk is going to be through the roof. So instead of throwing the whole kitchen sink at training, focus on progressing your workouts every single week. Track your reps, your weights, all of your sets, and aim to improve all that every single week. Even if it's just by 1 rep, never waste a workout. Over time, your soreness will fade though, but the soreness doesn't equal progress anyway, so don't worry about that. If you do this method consistently, then at 15%, you'll have more muscle definition and an athletic shape versus just being a smaller version of your current self. But before you start crushing all this, there's a few quick traps that you need to watch out for. First, friends, family, colleagues, the people around you will try to pull you back without even realizing it. One drink won't hurt, you're being too strict, you look very unhealthy. You've heard all this crap before. Don't let these words derail your progress and your focus. Next, expect to feel hungry. Hunger is a part of being in a deficit. It doesn't mean something is wrong. It means it's actually working. And you're not genuinely starving anyway. So if you manage your food properly, it is completely manageable. Another thing, 1 or 2 bad days can wipe out 4 to 5 days of progress. You don't lose fat based on what you do from Monday to Thursday. You lose fat based on what happens across the full 7 days of the week. And you don't need extreme approaches like keto or marathon cardio or drugs, although GLP-1s can help. The solution is in your consistent biofeedback data. If you're not measuring, you're not managing. So treat this like a project and not like a part-time hobby. And finally, just contemplate this. If you had 100 years to get ripped, you would figure it out. And what about 10 years or 1 year? So it's not that you can't do it. It's whether you commit to it and give yourself enough time to achieve it. So doing it right the first time is going to save you a lot of time later by not rebounding back to square one. But for guys working 40 hours plus every week with family and a hectic schedule and traveling and all this, getting from 25% down to 15% is not a 6-week shred approach. It's closer to 24 weeks or even more than that if you're doing it sustainably, factoring in busy weeks, family, priorities, travel, and illnesses. But once you're there, nobody cares how long it took. If you stay consistent, you follow the right strategy, you will get there. If you're serious about doing this properly and you want a structured, data-driven approach, instead of just guessing all the time, my metabolic recomp method is built for this. You can apply through the link below. The spots are limited. And then if you want to know exactly what to expect at each stage of the fat loss process, watch this video next.